This episode of Laugh With Me, a podcast with Jeremy Odem, is brought to you by podup.com. Have you ever thought about creating your own episode? You know, like having your own podcast? What are you waiting for? Get started at podup.com. They're one of the sponsors of this podcast, and they'd love to someday sponsor yours. Starting is as easy as creating an account at podup.com today. PodUp has literally everything that you need to run a full professional show. PodUp has over 35 different tools with AI integration to further help you succeed. Create a free starter account or get a paid account for 15% off with code LaughWithMe15. So go check out podup.com, or if you're wanting a podcast that's done for you where you pay an agency to do all the websites, social media, and editing work, check out podallies.com. PodAllies is an agency run by the folks that literally built the PodUp podcasting software. Get started with them at podallies.com. Get 15% off when you sign up today for PodUp or PodAllies with code LaughWithMe15. We can't wait to create with you and launch your podcast. Welcome back. It's a brand new episode. This is Laugh With Me, a podcast with Jeremy Odem. I am your host, J.O. Here we are. We finally made it to season 2. It's also our 50th episode ever, and we have been a podcast for just over a year now. So thank you very much to everybody that has listened. We've got a good one for you. One of my favorite guests from season 1, one of my best friends, Eric Larson. He is our guest today for a very special NFL preview episode. And it's not like an NFL preview episode like you've ever seen before or heard before. Speaking of seen, if you haven't subscribed to the Laugh With Me YouTube channel yet, please do. We're launching it officially right now with season 2, and we're going to have some fun video content coming your way from each episode. So make sure that you subscribe on YouTube. Just search Laugh With Me Podcast. Without further ado, maybe it's Laugh With Me, season 2 with Eric Larson. You're not supposed to pose for the camera. No, it's
what
like
camera?
No, it's like a conversation. It's not like, oh, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to the people. There's gonna be, hopefully, fingers crossed, people will watch this, but it's not about talking directly like through their souls.
I got to speak to the people. I got to make eye contact with them.
Yeah, that's true. That is kind of your thing. Are you gonna get us a beer, or what are you doing?
No, well I'm sorry. I haven't learned my way around the studio here yet.
All right,
I
so here's
didn't
the thing.
realize that was the guest's responsibility.
It's season 2, first episode. This is the premiere episode, also the 50th episode of Laugh With Me in its history. We gotta cheers to that, right? To season 2, episode 50. We had to bring back one of our favorite guests from season 1, because some people would start a new season and be like, I've got brand new guests, and these are bigger and better guests than you've ever seen before. And I was like, no, not on Laugh With Me. I bring back my favorites. So we've got Eric Larson.
Thank you for that. I feel like this is my first episode. Definitely the first episode that I'll have listened to in full.
I love how you're way behind on all the episodes listening, and you're like, why are you talking about like old shit all the time? And I'm like, that's because you're...
Well, it's because the show is so timely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very timely show.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to hear about LeBron's foot, you just got to wait for that news item to exit.
I wish I was so quick that I could tell you what episode that was on. But I have no idea. But how nasty was that foot? I think it was a solo episode when I talked about that foot.
Yeah, I remember seeing that episode.
How nasty was that foot?
Yeah, I saw that back in my 30s.
Yeah. I bet LeBron wishes he could fix his feet like he did his hairline.
Did he fix the hairline?
Well, he does it yearly because he goes through phases throughout the year. But he is, at one point every season, perfect hairline. Guaranteed.
Wow.
But he's a balding old man at some points. Part of the season 2.
Yeah.
He must not be able to take some breaks or something, and he can't do the plugs or whatever it is he does.
I mean, you got to start recognizing some of the struggle. I mean, your kids are getting older and stuff.
Oh, you're going to say my hair.
Yeah, well, I mean, I noticed. I mean, you don't have much gray up there. I got to start asking the question. I mean, is that all natural?
It is all natural, and I am clean shaven for the most part right now, which has been a different look for me from the last few years. But when I do have the facial hair out, I do start to get some of that white going in here and in here.
Wow, so my beard was the last thing to start going into the gray. So
your beard was?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, the hair flipped.
Yeah, what, 28, 27?
Yeah, probably 27 or so is when I first started seeing gray, and the brown is mostly gone now. But yeah, the beard didn't start flipping until about 3 years ago.
Damn. How you feel about that?
Well, it's the stress. It's stress of being a guest on this show.
Oh, yeah, so laugh at me.
I mean, you put this big intro out, like, you didn't tell me before the show that I was going to be your Bill Murray. You didn't tell me I was going to be this guest that was just going to be expected to be here for the next decade.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you're so far behind on episodes. You had no idea we were starting season 2, and this was a premiere episode. And I'm banking on you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've already hit the gray hair.
Yeah.
I mean, I was late with the beer service. So.
Yeah, and before we even started recording, you forgot to shut the door of the studio.
I'm pretty sure I parked behind your wife's car, so if she needs to go somewhere,
she's stuck.
She's gonna bust out, into the door.
Yep, you're wearing white after Labor Day. You are a disaster.
But we're here.
We're here. It's season 2. Before we get into it, because this is going to be a fun episode. This is actually something a little different. Actually, a throwback to the beginning of season 1. We did some NFL. We did some sports talk at the beginning of Laugh With Me. It was kind of like, all right, we're going to do jokes, we're going to do humor, we're going to have some guests on. We're also going to talk sports, because at that time, I was writing some sports for a website that decided that they weren't going to pay people anymore. And then that's twsn.net. And then we want to bring that back. Like, this is the NFL
We're not getting paid?
episode. We're not getting paid. We're going to talk football. We're doing all the things we were doing at the beginning of season 1.
I love to, we're hitting this topic of getting paid for it. You got a $10 bill that's framed here.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that, you left this writing job for this paid job.
Yep.
And, how much time did you put in for that $10?
So I made that $10. That's the first $10 I made doing stand-up comedy, and I did 15 minutes worth of work.
15 minutes for $10.
Yep.
Did you claim that on your taxes?
I did not. And I'll tell you what, 15 minutes of work on stage, I got probably, I don't know, a good 10 laughs.
10 laughs?
That's not bad.
I mean, $1 a laugh.
That's not bad.
I mean, you get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for. Yeah. You
I mean, if they would have given you $1,000,
geez, mile a minute laughs.
They would have been calling an ambulance. They would have needed.
They would have, because I would have then felt the pressure. And I would have been on the floor. Actually, funny story about that show, and I don't think I've told this story before, but as we're driving to the show, and it's downtown Omaha where the show is, right? And I, as we know, I have Crohn's disease, and from time to time, shit comes up, and literally, and in this moment, I'm driving. It was go time. Like, it was 911, and probably some of it was nerves.
Yeah.
Some of it was the disease. Some of it was maybe something I ate. I don't know, but it was go time. Literally, if we hadn't parked when we parked, I was going to shit my pants. And I had already prepared in my head that was going to be my entire 15 minutes just talking about that. I was like, throw out everything I was going to do throughout the whole act. I'm going to talk about this, and I already had it in my head. But we parked when we parked, and I was able to walk to the show, and then I was able to go, and it saved my life, I think.
Yeah, so 2 things off of that. I mean, just going back to our old days in debate. That's very, that's very you to be like, I'm going to write my stuff on the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got some prepared material, but the stuff I thought right now, better than that. Blows that out of the water.
100%. That's like, it's kind of been my life, right? Like I didn't really study a lot for things.
Yeah.
Didn't like doing homework. But I was able to like put 2 and 2 together just from like problem solving. Like I'm really good at that. So I could always like, all right, so if this, and this kind of, eliminate some of the other factors. All right, the answer is probably this. Maybe I'm not right, but probably 75% of the time I'm going to be right. And that's where I get through life. Like that's exactly how I've gotten through life. Yes, guesstimate, yeah. And I think my problem solving is good enough. I can get 70% correct, which is pretty freaking good. So, it's not scholar. Like I'm not, I'm not going to be teaching any classes anytime soon, but I could probably get through life. So, yeah, I...
Probably. Work in progress.
Yeah,
Work in progress.
So, yeah, we had debate, man. That was... I had some... because the teacher's like, you got to work on this stuff, you got to really study, and I did. I put some time in on that. But, man, on that drive there, I'd always be like, I think I've come up with the most genius thing. This is going to work, and this just came to me. So it's not like I could have prepared for that.
Yeah. I'm starting to realize this might be a bad combo for your season 2 launch. Just for the fact that, I'm very similar on that, but I feel like we egg each other on in that kind of way. So, we're probably going to be thinking Emmy after we finish recording this episode.
Well, we have connections of folks who've won Emmys. In fact, you can go back to season 1 and hear from Stephanie and her Emmy that she won, which... kudos to her. She probably win another one.
Is this turning into a clip show? Is this a season 1 in review?
It was one of those ones where it's like, we didn't prepare enough, so we're putting it together on the fly. See, and that's the thing. You look at the studio here, it's pieced together, and we're working on it. It's a work in progress. You might think, you just told us a story about it. You don't prepare. Don't get it wrong. This is work. Right here. This is work. This is genius in motion. So as we get through season 2, we're going to see the studio come to life, and it's going to be perfect for YouTube, which you can find a lot of the episodes, or all the episodes, season 1 and 2.
What is life if not preparation for the next day?
That's a good point.
We've been preparing for this moment since we first met.
I like to tell, or I need to get my team at work to like really believe in that, because
I thought you were going to say to listen to the pod. Get
the numbers up. No, I need them to listen to that message so that we prepare for the next day, so that maybe we don't start the day behind.
Are you saying that you'd like me to come in be like an inspirational speaker? Do you have like a department wide?
Yeah, we have a department meeting. We have you come in.
I could come in.
Yeah, people are like, well, so what it is you do? And you're like, I was a guest on Jeremy's podcast.
Yeah. My hair used to be brown. Now it's gray. Let me tell you a little bit about life.
My hair started to gray at 27.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The other thing that story just made me think of was, you always heard about, in debate, people that would, like, they'd throw up before doing the debate, or like the nerves. Like the nerves would get to them.
Yeah.
And it's always just like, I think about that now in life, and I'm just like, stop.
Stop throwing up?
No, just don't stop doing what's making you throw up.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
like, that doesn't sound like,
no.
I never want to puke. I hold it as long as possible. I'll internalize it before I'll do that.
I'm actually going to disagree with you on this one. That's
really?
Only because I think that kind of nerves, that kind of like feeling is healthy.
No.
It means you care. And I think you want to do a really good job, and you're preparing yourself, and you're ready to shine. And when the moment comes, when the lights are on,
wow, show must go on.
Show must go on. Yeah. I will say, even though this is episode 50, I still get nervous before every single episode, and I have to make the emergency run to the toilet. I don't throw up. I don't need to give you the details of what I'm doing in there, but I'm telling you, it's nasty. I think that's healthy.
All right. No details needed. I appreciate you leaving the details out of there.
This is going to be an NFL preview episode like you've never heard before from the experts. But before we get to that, I do have one quick story, because I think it'll kind of set us up for what we're going to talk about today, which is the NFL season. One of my coworkers, she was telling me this story. She's like, and it was completely random. We're standing at the register, we're waiting for the rush, and we're just standing there. She was telling me about her cousin who had this, like, I don't know, it was a cousin's kid or who was it? It was somebody related to her, right? And how she was always so friendly to her, and she was just such, like, a really nice kid. Didn't matter who she encountered in the family at family gatherings and picnics and holiday time or whatever, just super friendly, super awesome, and would be like a sunshine. Like, everybody would look forward to seeing her just because she was just awesome, right? And then one day, like, she got really sick.
Okay.
And she continued to have that same mentality of just smiles and sunshine and positive outlooks. And but she got really sick, and she ended up dying.
Okay.
So my coworker's telling me this story about this little girl ends up dying, right? Because this is a child that died. And she goes, and that just goes to show you. And that's how she ended the story. What?
That's
What did it show us? What did we learn from this?
I feel like this is one of
we
those,
all die?
one of those Rorschach tests.
Yeah.
Like, what do you see here? On these blots. So it's either butterfly or it's a tree or it's somebody getting murdered. Like, I think there's.
And I'm like, well, that's cool.
I know how I answered that question in my head, thinking ahead of the punchline.
Thinking ahead,
and yeah, it was a very dark story.
Very dark story with really no, like, positive solution there.
Yeah.
So the girl's dead, and it goes to show you. So we're talking about NFL preview today.
and honestly, like, as self-centered as I am, I'm listening to this story, thinking of how you're going to tie it to the NFL, and I'm like, you're describing the Vikings.
Yes.
Hey, we're going to do it. This is going to be the year.
Yep.
And then we don't do it.
Yep.
And then eventually we die. Every
single season, they have a plan. They execute the plan. And then they start training camp. And then that just goes to show you. And here we are again. The Vikings have a head coach they believe in, who's shown he's really good, even in those, like, really tough times. He took a quarterback who'd only been on the team for like a day, and he put him on a Sunday field, starting quarterback, QB1, and led him to victory just talking to him through his helmet, through the plays and what the plays are. Pretty incredible for anybody to do, let alone the head coach.
He wasn't the starter.
He didn't start. Oh, that's right. He had to come in.
Hall was the starter.
That's right.
Led him down to the 5-yard line.
Yeah, my story's better when he's the starter. Yeah,
well, right. I was there. I was at that game. I lived in Atlanta for 5 years, and that was the one and only time that the Vikings visited. So,
gotcha.
But yeah, he came in. He did it. I mean, the efficiency metrics for the Vikings were very good, considering that Kirk Cousins didn't start half their games.
Right.
But
pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So a really good head coach. You've got a first-round draft pick at quarterback who is a guy that a lot of people have hope and excited to see him play. You've got a new running back coming up from a division rival that was really good for that division rival that you're like, okay, he's going to be something for us. The defense is all right. You've got a good kicker. Special teams is solid. Things are I didn't even mention Justin Jefferson. Like, you having elite wide receivers. Everything's looking amazing. You had some great defensive players that were drafted as well. They died, right? Didn't one of them die?
Yeah, the fourth round draft pick.
He died.
Yeah, guy had a very similar to like a Kurt Warner type of story of him working, doing JUCO junior college, like that kind of stuff to get himself in a position to go make it on Alabama's team, and then made the team and ended up passing. Got hit by a drunk driver.
That's sad, and
it's one of those things too where it's just like it's tough to like go through that story.
Yep.
And then just be like, and JJ tore his meniscus, and
right.
So we won't have any draft picks, and it's just like, well, it's very tough. Like, you can't even mention it. Like, it's like, well, at least JJ will be back next year, and hopefully, the excitement will be there, and hopefully he gets some study time in this year.
Yep.
And can do something. But yeah, you hate to see those stories of players that rose above the odds, and then
it's just tragic before they could live their dream. And then, you just brought up J.J. McCarthy's injury, and he's out for the season. And is Addison going to be able to play? There was an incident at practice. He was carted off the field. He's going to be okay, though, right?
I was reading about that earlier today, and they're expecting him. He was in practice yesterday and today, so they're expecting him for week 1.
All right. So the Vikings are starting in a hole. Let's be blunt. So let's start with. So before we're gonna start with the North and the NFC, but before we do that, let's just put it all out there so that you believe us on who we are and why you're listening to our NFL preview.
Yeah.
Between the two of us, in one fantasy league, what have we won? 4 championships?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have an eye for talent. And, when you're looking at, across all leagues that we've played, that's many more championships that we've won and more dollars that we've won. More than this $10 bill, I tell you, that we've won in this frame. Not only that, we've gone to NFL games. We've watched games live. I don't know if you guys remember, there was this little game on a Thursday night in Kansas City, Missouri, where the Chargers were at the Chiefs, and Phillip Rivers led the Chargers at the end of the game to get the touchdown to get within 1, and instead of going for the extra point to tie it, we went for 2, and he found Mike Williams wide open, and we ended up winning that game in Kansas City and keeping the Chargers' playoff hopes alive. We were there.
I've showed that video to so many people who haven't cared. The video I took from my seat of
we were
the
there,
touchdown, the 2-point conversion.
And so here's the thing. If you're thinking, who are these guys and why do I care? That's why you care. We know football. We live football. We watch it on Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays.
I have watched football.
Yep.
I love that this is how you introed it in, just talking about that fantasy success, because I really wanted to, make fun of your team,
Good luck.
For this year. I intentionally didn't look at it earlier, but it's awful. It's awful. You got weaknesses across the board.
You didn't look at it at the draft either because you were so drunk. Yeah, there's no chance you knew who I was taking or anybody else was taking. For that matter.
It's a bold choice. I think the organizer of the Joe, our friend Joe, was hosting the draft. And he also organized a golf outing, which we both participated in.
Yeah, it was great.
Again, we've already talked about our bona fides, as pretty much the best players in this league.
Correct.
And I think his intention was to, get us started drinking a little bit earlier. Hope that he was going to take advantage of it.
I think that's why Joe was in a different group ahead of us, because then that way he probably wasn't drinking.
Yeah, they were drinking Pedialyte up there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas we're drinking beers.
Yes.
And we're not, because if we were with him, we'd be like, maybe not everybody's drinking, and it would slow us down.
Yeah, we would have been responsible, obviously.
We would have been responsible, but fortunately for us, we were not. And this is just another reason why you should listen to this NFL preview. So the NFC.
I once got called the drunken drafter, so
yeah,
I have experience drafting drunk.
That is true. Yeah. So now we're going to see how you do projecting the NFL season. Not that you're drunk now, but maybe. We got a bucket of beers here.
Again, we've done a ton of prep for this episode.
We have.
So, yeah, we've really spent a lot of time crunching the numbers. I've got my laptop propped up here with some very good bullet points that,
You have your laptop with all your prep, and I am here to hear it. I would love to bounce off of what you're saying here, but it's the NFC North. We just heard about the Vikings. Things are looking good for them. They got a first-round quarterback. They've got a fourth-rounder at corner. They've got new running back. They've got elite wide receivers. Most of them aren't playing. So, what do you think?
So the ESPN, I don't know if you've ever seen this. They do.
I've watched ESPN.
Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah. They're the sports network.
ESPN. Yep.
So they did their annual Madden. They simulated the season in Madden.
Yep.
Just to see the results. And it resulted in the Vikings getting the number 1 overall pick next year. So apparently Madden does not think that Sam Darnold is going to be able to rise to the occasion.
John Madden, another guy that's dead.
Is this a theme for season 2?
This is
season 2 is all about loss.
It's all about loss, all about death. Yep. At the finale of season 2, I'm gonna die.
Wait, I mean,
and that is the big finale for season 2. I'm sorry to spoil it for you.
I mean, sometimes you cry so much, you deal with so much sadness that all you can do is laugh.
There you go.
Laugh with us.
That's
laugh
right. With me. So the Vikes aren't looking to be players in the North, I'm assuming. I mean, maybe. There's enough talent.
The wild cards, you already hit on it.
Yep.
O'Connell, great play caller.
Yep.
This is more talent than Darnold's ever been around in his entire career. This is more support that he has. In addition to those, all-world wide receivers, you got Hockenson that's coming back here in 4 weeks. You've got one of the best left tackles in the game. You've got a really good right tackle. Like, that offensive line is good. Like, there's an argument that could be made.
All right, I'm starting to buy it.
The second thing that you would say is Brian Flores did a tremendous job last season bringing that defense back from basically one of the worst in the league to average in the league.
Pretty good, yeah.
So you've restocked, you've given him some players like Dallas Turner to make that defense go. It's one of those, Flores has the active lawsuit going against the NFL.
Yeah, for the
still from that Belichick accidentally sending him the congrats, you got the job.
Yep.
And then sending it to the wrong Brian. So that's kind of one of those like positives that the Vikings have for him is, hey, he probably would have been in line for a potential another head coaching job, but nobody's going to touch him until this lawsuit's resolved. So it's just like, okay, can we get another couple seasons of him, doing that?
So do you think there's a potential for the NFL kind of be like, hey, we could resolve this lawsuit, which would benefit us. We're going to benefit you, future head coaching job down the line. But for this season, we'll give you a couple of wins that maybe you weren't going to get through some officiating.
The script writers?
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, it's possible, right?
They've wrote a redemption arc in here for Flores.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna put you over. You're the face. We're gonna turn you to a face.
His defense is going to be so devastating that they're going to win some games.
All right, we're talking about the Vikings' chances, which
are bleak.
Yeah, they're pretty bleak.
Yep.
But one of the questions that I did have, and one of the things that I was hoping that we would talk about in here was just how much do you put like on the quarterback when you're looking at some of these like success things? Because the other teams in the NFC North that you're seeing that are getting all the press are 3 very different scenarios.
Yep.
So number one, you got Goff, who just signed a top of market
huge deal. Yep.
extension, but has had his ups and downs in the career.
Yep.
I think probably written off by the entire community probably 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, but think about Goff. His down in his career was that he didn't win the Super Bowl. Like he was
also not a quarterback that was going to get you over that edge. Where Stafford comes in first
did
year,
get him over the top.
All of a sudden, hey, we can throw it more than 15 yards down the field.
All right, yeah, all right, sure. Sure.
You've got Jordan Love.
Yep.
Who's which side of the season do you believe?
Mm-hmm.
First 8 games, he was below average.
Yep, and they tore it up.
Last 9 games, and in the playoff game against Dallas, looked like another superstar.
He's a superstar, and if you believe in, like if you play fantasy and you think of like, all right, who am I undervaluing? He was QB5 last year, total year.
No,
but you're right. At the beginning of the season, he wasn't there, but he was there for you at playoff time. So I don't know. He's a guy I think this year he's getting undervalued in the fantasy. I mean, at this point, everybody's already drafted their teams. So, but yeah, I don't know.
And then you've got the other one, Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Number one overall pick.
We don't know.
And you've also, the Bears had DJ Moore before.
Yep.
Great wide receiver. But then they added Keenan Allen.
Yep.
Who, he's not going to be your alpha wide receiver, but he's going to be a guy in the slot, and he's going to catch the ball.
Okay.
And then you've got He
had a career last year. For the LA Chargers. He is as good as a guy as you're going to find. Keenan Allen, and it's unfortunate he had to be traded to Chicago, but
and then you've got a rookie wide receiver that's in there. So you've got the best pass catching talent that team's had.
Yeah.
So what door do you open in that division? Because it does. If the Vikings were average, then that looks like it could possibly be the most competitive division in the league.
It could be. That's the thing. The Bears. I like the Bears this year. I'm on.
Well, and the Bears had a good defense last year.
I'm on the record that their defense is good enough that it's going to buy Caleb Williams some time, and Williams is good enough that he is going to be an improvement for them from Justin Fields. But their wide receivers, I think, are much improved, like as a unit, and is going to allow him some like flexibility on the offense. I love the Bears this year, especially with their schedule. They're coming off of a weaker schedule, and they're going to catch some people by surprise. I think their defense is really, really good. The Lions are going to be good.
Yep.
But I think they're the team that's just like, I don't know, you always get those NFL teams that they're expected to be good. They're going to be good. They're not going to be anything more than that. I don't think the Lions are going to the Super Bowl, even though a lot of people are picking them to go to the Super Bowl.
And kind of, one of the things I was getting to on that quarterback thing.
Yeah.
It's just like when we're going through this exercise and we're looking at the quarterbacks. And you're looking
how important is it?
You're looking at the AFC side of like, hey, who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And on the AFC side, you've got Mahomes, you've got Lamar, you've got Allen, probably the three best quarterbacks right now.
Right.
And then waiting in the wings, you've got, the Joe Burrows, the, Herbert. Like, you've got all this quarterback talent.
Well, before we talk about the MVP, Justin Herbert, let's do an hour on the North.
I saw you wait, like you were hanging on that last
I was hanging on that.
Are you going to throw Herbert in there?
Yeah, I was like,
are you going to throw Herbert in there?
You said Justin Herbert? We need to do an hour on the North, and here's why. Because let's break down the quarterbacks. Let's look at the quarterbacks and then say why that team's good. Okay? Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams. Is that why that team's good?
It could be.
See, I don't think that's why that team's good, but I think he's a big part of it.
So,
I think the defense is why they're really good.
Now, the interesting thing with the Bears, and, this was kind of when we were talking about, themes on here, and the Bears, like, it struck me like, when does the hurting stop? Because I saw a stat out there earlier today that was talking about...
This is how awesome the studio is. I didn't set up for the screensaver not to go, for the computer to go to sleep, so every couple of minutes I got to, like, move the mouse so that the logo is still on for the video.
Wait, are people... Wait, there's a video?
We're
people
doing
people are going to see this?
Season 2, we're doing video now. Yeah, we have like a full budget. Like, this is a big freaking deal.
Is the budget framed right there?
$10. Yeah, we are going all in. Yeah. Anyways.
So the stat that I saw was the last time the Bears beat the Packers was 2018.
Dang.
6 years.
Wow.
There's only one player on the team that was still part of the Bears back then. Long snapper. He's on IR.
Oh, no.
So there's not a single...
There's nobody.
So right now with that 53-man roster, there's not a single player on the Bears that has ever been part of a victory against the Packers.
Wow.
So, like, how do you overcome that kind of generational trauma?
Yeah.
And honestly, if we would have been having this conversation last year at this time, it would have been like, yeah, things are positive in Detroit. It probably would have been very tough for me to say, hey, they're going to get more than like 10, 11 wins. Just because my entire life I've seen the Lions. And
bad.
They've never been good.
They always had an elite talent.
Yeah.
One, maybe two elite talents.
Well, they were stars and scrubs.
Yep.
Like they would have Ndamukong Suh and they would have Calvin Johnson, and then they would have a team, in Stafford and a team of scrubs.
Barry Sanders. I mean, you can go back.
Yep.
I mean, this is just the history of the Detroit Lions. But they are good, and they are a Super Bowl pick for a lot of people this year.
The Bears?
The Lions.
Okay. Right.
The Bears, no. But I am going on a limb and saying the Bears could be a wild card team.
What happens when Caleb Williams loses an ugly game in November? What happens when it gets cold in Chicago?
He cries. I mean, he's a crier, and that's okay.
He's a bit of a crier.
Yeah, guys can cry. But I think he rebounds. I think he understands what it means to be a pro. He just seems different than some of the guys that are, in his status of first-round pick and whatnot. But
He's very Rayola, and Sorry, that was college football. Disregard that. If you're here for the NFL show, disregard that comment.
We're talking about college football next week.
That was a Nebraska.
It's like we're talking about college football next week. So then, here's the thing: the Lions. Let's finish up with the Bears. Williams, not the reason why they're good. You say yes. I say no.
I mean, if they're going to be good, he's going 100%.
He's got to be, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Lions. Jared Goff. He's the reason why they're good?
No.
Yeah,
No.
I would agree with that.
No. And so when I'm talking about those A-list quarterbacks in the AFC, well, the NFC, look at like the teams that you expect to be competitive.
Right, they don't have that.
And you've got the Brock Purdy. You've got Jared Goff.
Yep.
You've got, Jordan Love. Like, you've got these guys that, yeah, maybe they could be schemed that they're good, but they don't have a track record of like, hey, this is an MVP guy for the last 5 years.
But that's been the NFL for the last 30 years, right? I mean, the AFC continues to win the bulk of the Super Bowls because they have elite A-list quarterbacks. And, and a lot of those are Tom Brady, but a lot of them are Ben Roethlisberger. And then every once in a while, you'll get Aaron Rodgers gets one. Eli Manning gets a couple. That isn't it kind of been the history of the two leagues is the AFC will always have the elite guy, and NFC's got a good quarterback.
No, that's a good point. Obviously, with you following the Chargers, me following the Vikings, probably. I think we've got our built-in biases that are probably in there where I'm thinking here and I'm just I wouldn't say that the bulk of the talent's been AFC, but yeah, definitely from
when you're talking the quarterback.
The A-list, quarterback. So when it was Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger,
I'm
absolutely.
talking Hall of Fame guys.
Yeah.
That has been on the AFC side. So honestly, we need to pause because credit to me for making that point.
Let's.
And you agreeing to it.
You didn't get that on tape, did you?
Oh, I did. No prep done at all. That was just me spitballing. Came up with that off the dome.
Did you write that walking down to the studio?
I did. I was like, it's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. See, again, all life's preparation.
Yep.
You've been building towards this.
Yep. All right. Well, we got. All right. We have two more teams. We're gonna talk about the NFC. We're gonna talk about the NFC North for 2 days. So the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love. The reason why they're good or not. I know you're gonna say no.
So the Packers, I mean, honestly, they're one of the teams that I gotta have pegged. I think that they're going to regress a little bit.
I totally agree.
I think they're going to still be good, but I don't think that they're going to be 13-4.
There's a lot of film on them now.
Yeah,
and they didn't upgrade enough.
Yeah, well, they were playing the worst schedule or the second worst schedule in the NFC. They're going to play a little bit tougher one here this year. I think where it comes down to it is just. I'm still questioning their defense because their defense was awful last year, and they rightly fired.
How bad was it?
I don't have a punchline for that.
Damn it! This is a comedy show.
Yeah,
we're in comedy. This is a comedy podcast.
I didn't even know we were filming today.
Jeez,
I didn't know this.
Okay.
This is practically my first time on the show
this season.
Yeah.
Yep.
About to cry.
I'm with you. I think the Packers regress. I think all the reasons you just gave.
But so they replaced the D coordinator. Everybody's just like, oh well, that's fixed, and it's just like, well, their talent's
still there.
The defense is still a stars and scrubs talent wise. They've got a great corner. They've got some great guys on their defensive line, but they're not Baltimore or Cleveland or one of these teams that's going to just shut teams down.
Right.
I mean, I would argue. I mean, Detroit's got a better defense than them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they overperform. I think they're really good core that gets enough done. They'll give up a lot of points though. I mean, they're leaky, but they'll get it done. So all right. So then finally, the Vikings. We already have the answer. Is the quarterback going to be the reason whether good or not? I mean, he's not going to be good.
Yeah. As from a team building exercise, I mean. If the Vikings were to just have a bad season, this is the time to do it.
This is it, yep.
Because they did trade those 2 picks from next year's draft to move up to get, Turner. And so they've only got 4 picks. So the closer they can be to first pick, already having the quarterback, already having that, and if they can trade back to get some of those picks, that's going to be a big, big thing. So the Vikings are never awful. They never get over the top, but they're normally not a 4-win team.
Right.
So I do think that they'll win 6 or 7 games, but I think probably the max they could win is 8 or 9.
Yeah, shoot. I bet the over/under is 6.5.
6.5 probably sounds right to me.
Yeah, so you're taking over, which is crazy right now, thinking about what other teams sitting.
Yeah.
Are you willing to put some money down on that? Taking the over?
Oh no, I'd never bet any money on that.
On that.
Yeah.
What's like you bet money. I mean, you're just not betting money on that. Yeah.
Well,
have you ever done futures like that?
No.
I don't think I have either.
I mean, we didn't have sports betting in Georgia, and I went to Vegas many times when I bet on individual games. It was always just like, well, I'm going to bet on this for the end of the year, and then I'm going to have to come back to Vegas to get it.
All right, so here you are. You're living now in Nebraska again. I mean, sports betting's legal here, kind of, and then it's a quick trip over the river to Iowa to bet. I mean, are you back? Are you in the game? Are you get the juice going?
I suppose I could listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
And this would probably educate me.
This would educate you.
So that I know what's going on.
And we are experts. Let's not forget that. Actually, if you are sports betting and you want expert, I mean, the WTL podcast, you can find them. Where's the line? Fantastic advice. And Jabron, he's the parlay pounder. He's crushing parlays every single week. So that actually is like worth a listen. But all right, let's stick with the NFC. And I know this division is going to get us hyped. The South. So
awful.
What a trash division.
Yeah.
What about your old stomping grounds in Atlanta? I honestly, Kirk Cousins, your old quarterback in Minnesota, but I love the fact that they drafted a guy. They signed him to a fat contract. Then they sign a guy behind him to that's just kind of Kirk Cousins' career. Is there's always another guy. But then there's so much talent on offense. Offensively, they should be really, really good.
Assuming that Kirk Cousins comes back.
True. Okay.
Yeah.
I
think that's the big wild card, and I think there's even been some of that speculation out there that's like, well, were they worried before the draft? Did they think it was possible that, hey, they needed a backup to sit behind Kirk Cousins? Like, was he, progressing? No, it sounds like everything that we've been hearing for the last month or so has been good on him.
Yeah.
I still don't really buy that team as being a contender.
Right.
I mean,
maybe in the division.
Yeah, their offensive line is not the best. Their defense is not the best. Now I know that they brought in, Morris, Raheem Morris. So, that defense is going to get some attention. Yeah. They're free of Arthur Smith, the head coach that, very Mike Zimmer of him. He got a whole bunch of high-powered offensive players, and then was just like, let's keep these toys on the shelf.
Yeah, it was like decoy only.
Yeah,
and then at some point
they're worth more if you keep the original packaging.
They're I'm going to put them on the wall. In the packaging, pristine. I'm going to get them graded eventually down the line, and then I'm going to go to the mall, the old mall, like a mall that's no longer even feasible. Nobody wants to go there. Yeah. Half of the lots are empty. Sbarro's not even there. It's a rip-off Sbarro in the.
Well, that's the new mall.
That's at the mall. Then they have these folding tables in the middle of the mall on a weekend, but only one weekend a year. They're going to have it on display. You could buy it for way more than it's valued. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I'm happy I got that right. But I always thought, and this is just silly, I didn't watch enough Falcons games, even though I had Robinson, their running back, on my fantasy team. I never watched the game. I just would watch other games. I would just check his stats, which were never good enough. And Arthur Smith, I always was like, that's their owner. Why are we talking about the owner? But that's not the owner. That was their
That is
coach.
not the
that is
not Arthur Blank,
time. Yes,
the Home Depot founder.
Every single time they said Arthur Smith, I'm like, why are we talking about the owner? And every time I'm like, oh, he's not the owner. I mean, I knew that.
We can't talk about Dallas without talking about Jerry. So why not extend that same thing to Atlanta?
Yeah, exactly. And I love that owner because in the Super Bowl, that one where the Patriots came back, that epic comeback to win the game, and he's down on the field ready to celebrate and get the Lombardi, and it's like, dude, your team blew it. I love that. I love that moment.
Yeah, the scars have not healed from that down in Atlanta.
Did you live in Atlanta then?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, what was morale like the next day?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was not there during the Super Bowl. I came that following May or whatever, so all I got to hear from was the people who were there for it. Like,
so that's not the same.
Yeah. No, I came to Georgia and they started. The Braves won a World Series.
Because everybody
Georgia won a
Oh, that's right. You went there and everybody started winning.
Yeah. So that's why I'm back in Nebraska.
That's the Larson bump, and the Huskers are good again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
we got 8 votes this week in the Tony 5 on the coaches poll.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll take that.
Get that Colorado win this weekend. All of a sudden,
Then we jump.
Yeah, they could. Maybe not after this week, but play Northern Iowa or something that
Oh yeah, that's college though. So in the South, we're talking about Atlanta Falcons. They're not going to be good, but they're going to be contenders within their division. But that's only because the division sucks. Like the Saints, what are they doing? They haven't been good since the Sean Payton years, and they weren't even really good in the Sean Payton years for the last 5.
They're still paying it off, though.
Well, true, yeah.
That used to be their thing. They would buy a new team, and then they would just kick everything down the road.
That's true.
They're getting some forced austerity here, forced to hey, you got to stop spending money.
They have to 5-6 years do nothing and be terrible, rebuild through the draft, and then maybe be able to rebuild from there. Honestly, right? They have to almost have a hurricane absolutely destroy the team, and then take a second, maybe hang out for a little bit, and then rebuild in order to have success again. Don't you think?
There's some irony in the fact that Sean Payton was probably just hey, I can't make it on these. The cookie cutter budget's just from paying this all down. Mm-hmm. So he goes to Denver, who's paying down a $53 million cap hit on Russell Wilson this year. But at least they're done with it once they get that paid off. But hey, I got out of there just to get away from this situation. Oh crap, I'm right back in this.
Right back in it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the problem that the Saints have had is just trying to compete every year. And it's something that it's going to come up with a couple other teams where it's just hey, you talk about that competitive rebuild. We've seen some successful teams do it and retool and not lose their fastball, and then we've seen some other teams, like the Saints that are just hey, you didn't cut it enough, you didn't break it down enough, and now you're just forever
bad.
Mediocre.
Yep. And that's the thing. They're not bad. They're not bad enough to be able to take advantage of it in the draft. They're mediocre.
Which, you brought up the Breeze years, and I think if you would have asked before the Breeze years, that's probably how you would have described the Saints even back then with Aaron Brooks and those kind of guys. It was just well, they're not bad. They're just not good.
They had hope then. They had hope too. Even with those teams, they were I think we can compete in the division. And it's well, your team's not really And then they did have a run where they were, one of the elite of the NFL. But yeah, it's caught up to them, and it's trying to regain that magic without the talent and all the old bad contracts, and it's just caught up to them.
And I mean, honestly, you can make that same thing for Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Tampa Bay's in that same boat. They went all out for Brady.
Yep.
They got their Super Bowl.
Built around him. Yep.
And now it's kind of well,
now what do we do?
Yeah, you got some of those A-plus players out there that they've been paying, but the rest of the team's gone, and to the point where Mayfield had a good year last year, and they extended him, and it's all right, well, now you're kind of, this is your hand.
And the Carolina Panthers are the other team at the South, and they're absolute trash in the best way. I mean, this is maybe you can find some gold with it. This is recycling.
Well, they got to hope that, because their team is so bad that they got to kind of hope that they end up in the Texans mold of just, hey, this time last year, nobody was picking the Texans to do anything. And they end up being that surprise playoff team, riding an easy schedule, riding, young quarterback, young core, and winning those games. That's got to be where Carolina's just they had the draft capital. They brought in Deontay Johnson. That was their big thing last year was the wide receivers could not get separation. They picked the highest running back in the draft. Now the dude tore his ACL last year, so he isn't going to be starting until mid-season. But you've got some
guys, but you can't bank on doing what the Texans did. That was kind of everything just kind of came together at once, and they're a team that I think is going to have regression this year, much like the Packers. So, but the Panthers, I predict going to be last in the division again.
Oh, yeah.
And they could continue to rebuild, but they're a mess. And the new ownership has got to kind of figure out a direction, I guess, on where they're heading. But
I didn't even think about that angle too. It's like you think the old crappy owner is
racist,
sitting, just sitting there laughing it up, oh, not as easy as you thought it was.
Yeah,
while he's
try it. Yeah.
While he's swimming like Scrooge McDuck in his big, vault of money.
Before we started recording, we were making that same joke, somebody writing a joke or telling a joke, and then it kind of bombs, and it's just like, oh, well, you try it, it's like same thing. I mean, this guy buys the team because he's rich, and then he's firing his head coach every season. It's just not as easy as it looks. But you got to have a vision and kind of be dedicated to it for at least 3-5 years in order to see some type of semblance of success. But yeah, at least that's what it's been in the past. But
yep.
All right, so we're done with the South. I don't want to talk about the South anymore. Yeah, so we have one more division in the NFC. We have two more. Shit, there's all these teams. Yeah. We're going to go to the West. Let's start with the Seahawks, because I think they're interesting. They have a new head coach.
Yeah.
Even though I love Pete Carroll, mostly because of his USC years, I think those were fun.
Yeah.
He had all these high-profile guys. He had a Heisman Trophy winner, Reggie Bush, which he did get the Heisman back.
He left.
He was
right
giving
in front
everybody
of a tidal wave of sanctions.
Right, because he
the Jim Harbaugh method.
The Jim Harbaugh method, which, if we're seeing kind of history repeat itself, I'm looking forward to talking about the Chargers. But Pete Carroll, everybody
was hope where you can find it.
Everybody was sitting fat. They were getting paid or they were getting houses like Bush. But either way, Pete Carroll had a good. Then he ran off to the NFL. He had a lot of success in Seattle.
Yep.
And towards the end, it looks like, all right, we're gonna go a different direction, whatever. But nothing really changed personnel wise. So I don't know. What do you make of the Seahawks?
I like them. I like them
really?
This year. Head coach, they brought in McDonald, the defense coordinator for Baltimore. So his specialty was slowing down offenses like the Chiefs, the Bengals. These spread offenses. Miami, these offenses.
Which he's going to have to do in the West.
Yeah, which he's going to have to do to play against the originators,
exactly
Shanahan and McVay.
Yep.
And then also, just when you look at that offensive side of the ball, it's like. And this is kind of one of my pet peeves, and it's these coaches, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later with another team too. Of just you have this head coach that kind of sits on their offense, like they're a defensive specialized coach, and kind of like the Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
Like I don't even want to think about offense. Like we're going to stop them from scoring points. Right. Why do we even need to worry about offense? And so I feel like that might have been where Pete Carroll was starting to fall in there, especially with Geno, because you saw Geno have this really good season and then fall off last year, even though he had
everything.
The Metcalf, Lockett, and then Smith and Nigba.
That's the thing. The Seahawks have always been blessed with either elite defense or really good defense, a running back that you could count on, and then talented wide receivers.
Yep.
Then it came down to the quarterback, and Russell Wilson was that guy for a long time before whatever happened there with Russell Wilson. I mean, I can't wait for the 30 for 30 on what happened there with Russell Wilson, or just about Russell Wilson in general. But yeah, I mean, Geno was really good. He had the big game in prime time, and the I didn't write back statement was put on T-shirts. Like, it was awesome. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the Seahawks have. But the thing is, even if they are good, are they going to be better than the 49ers?
Yeah.
Who are probably arguably the best team in the entire NFL.
So, and I completely agree with you on... I don't agree with you on the Niners being the best team in the NFL.
Okay.
But the biggest trouble I think that the Niners are going to get in, I mean, they've been so close.
Yeah.
So many years in a row. Like, they've got that engine that can. They got Debo, they got Ayuk, they got Kittle, they've got CMC. Like, they've managed to keep all that going. At some point, you got to start thinking that maybe they're going to get that hangover of just, are they going to be able to continue executing at this level year in and year out and just survive the grind?
Yeah. So you either get because it never happens where you just plow through everybody and you go on and you get repeat over and over and over again of being at the final game, right? I mean, so many years it was the Patriots, but even they fell victim to that very thing where the grind catches up and then another team catches them, and Peyton Manning's Colts, so, things catch them, right? So the Niners, you either get that where somebody catches them, or you get the mental thing of things get a little tense, some games are closer than they should be, and you start losing a few things, and then now they get the inside fighting, and now the morale's down, and then suddenly, before you even know it, you're not even in the playoffs.
Yep.
Like, that's a thing, right? That's a real thing. That injuries could happen.
Yep.
What if CMC went down?
What if Bosa went down on that defense?
Bosa will go down on that defense. The Bosas, it's like their middle name, injured. That's going to happen. We'll talk about that with the Chargers, but that's that's kind of their thing. But you're right, yeah. If Nick goes down, he's the hog, right? I mean, he's the guy. But they're the favorite, right? The Rams are probably that other team that could catch him.
Yeah. Now this is one that, like the Rams, when I was kind of thinking about this like earlier, I was just like, in Seinfeld they had one of Jerry's girlfriends. She was a two-face.
Yeah.
So in certain lights, she was just the most attractive, woman you could ever imagine. And in certain,
Rams.
Yeah, in certain lights, you look. It was kind of like off-putting. Like, what happened? No, come back over to this light.
You get the bad Rams.
Yeah, and so, I think you have that. So if you look at that as a broad sense, you're like, hey, the offense looks like it could be explosive. Stafford, and then you've got Puka and Cooper Kupp, out there. Most people would flip those two in how they said it.
But not you.
Not me.
Not you.
You got Kyron Williams. They've got another, rookie sitting behind him. Like, the offense, it seems like they've got the horses. McVay always schemes well. But defense, you pull Aaron Donald out of that line.
It's a mess.
Where, How do you replace a guy that's won that many Defensive Player of the Years?
He's a guy, too. Every year he, toys with the idea of retiring.
Yeah.
What's his head? Where's his head at? I mean, if he's super disciplined, that if he's playing, he's all in, or is he just kind of 1 foot? I mean, I don't know. He's so talented, but whenever somebody is like, I might retire, you always think maybe.
I had to stop myself on that one. Maybe Aaron Donald's like, hey, I'll come back. I just wanted to skip training camp.
Right.
But, you can almost put a lot of that stuff that you just said against the coach, because McVay's been one of those that it seemed like he won the Super Bowl and then kind of lost a lot of that energy.
So he, I just saw an interview where they asked him that. They were like, so how close were you to actually retiring? And he said,
how close were you to being rich and young?
Right, yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what it was. He said he never had an official conversation, an official offer, an official anything for outside of being a head coach of the NFL. But there was talk, and there was somebody who knew somebody type of thing. And there was enough of a talk for him to think about it. And then he had to think, well, if I go that route and actually talk about it, then I have to leave. Because that means I don't want to be a head coach.
Yep.
He's like, but I'm not done being a head coach. I still have things I want to do, so I need to stay. I need to stay.
Yep.
So he never actually went down that route. It was more like, okay, there's people who do want him, and there was talk, and it was enough talk for him to think, but never anything concrete. I thought that was interesting, and actually awesome that he was so honest about it. But yeah, the fact that he's even kind of dabbling in that, young and rich and choosing, is he going to be Bill Cowher, where it's like, all right, I'm going to leave this job and I'm going to go and do media and I'm going to come back to head coaching, but it never does.
But
right, because at some point you lose it, you lose the juice. I mean, you can't.
Well, that was one of them too, where it's just that draft that happened COVID year, and it was just a lot of the storylines that were going on after that was you saw McVay's setup. Yeah. And you were just like,
what is this?
Him and Zimmer, both got why are you guys even coaching? Just
right, you got to
hang out. This room, all I can see is this one room. You could just live in that one room. Yep. That one room looks beautiful.
Yep. You got Belichick, who's got a kitchen like mine.
Yeah, with the dog.
With the dog.
Like,
yeah.
that was one of the best moments. I'm really excited about Belichick. He's going to be on the Manning cast.
He is.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's on the Manning cast. He's going to do some things on McAfee show.
Yep.
Yeah,
But just seeing him at the draft, like he was able to. I mean, it's not like he played off. He didn't play off anybody for the laughs, but he also didn't like just completely disregard. Like,
right.
They'd bring up something in jest, and he would go through the actual like reasons.
I actually hope he never coaches again because I think he's going to be more entertaining on this side of it, a side that we've never seen from him.
Yep. Would be really entertaining. I mean, just you saw that the 30 for 30 or one of those ESPN ones of Saban and Belichick.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they get a podcast together.
Oh.
I mean, that's probably going to cut into your listenership.
Are they doing a comedy podcast?
I mean, what new horizons do they have?
Exactly.
Like, they've dominated every other.
They've
thing.
got everything else. They're hitting
Comedy is next. Like, it's a natural progression.
That is true. The last team in the West, the Arizona Cardinals.
Yep.
We're not expecting much from them, right?
I mean, they were exciting once Kyler came back last year.
Yeah, I mean, anything with Marvin Harrison Jr.
I mean, they got Harrison Jr., they got McBride. Like, they've got some horses. That whole division, it's like you've got the 49ers and the Seahawks that are like, hey, they got defenses that are okay to good.
Elite, yeah.
And then you've got like 3 elite offenses in the Niners, the Rams, and the, potentially.
Right.
The Cardinals of just being able to score points. It could be a fun one, but that also could be one of them where, the Niners are getting in on a wild card instead of a division win.
Right. And that's exactly what I'm thinking. But that's only if they get into their own, mischief with the morale in the locker room. Because the talent there, the core has been together for so long. Like, there's really no reason they're not just win the division, run away with it, and then get serious for the playoffs. But that also is a recipe for disaster along the way. So.
Well, I mean, you think about just that drama for the Niners of just Trent Williams.
Yep.
Just ended his holdout.
Yep.
Ayuk just got his new deal. Like, you always get nervous as a football fan when it's coming this close to the start of the season.
Right.
Like, because you want them out there. You want them practicing so they're not going to get all those soft tissue injuries.
Soft tissue. I got a soft tissue for them. So... We got what division am I missing in the NFC?
The East.
Oh, the freaking East. How could I forget? I'll tell you why I forget. Because they're always in prime time. I don't have to think about them because they're going to be in front of me. So, we've got the...
Well, we can make this really...
It's going to be real simple with this one.
We can make this real simple. Washington.
Yup.
They're going to be awful.
They're going to be awful.
They're trying out their new quarterback.
Okay, before we pass up on the Commanders, because I totally agree they're going to be awful. How do we feel about Austin Eckler? Enough said. All right, move on to the next team.
You got the Giants, who are on the exact opposite, where they've got the lame duck quarterback.
Yep.
They just need to move on from him.
So I'm going to go on a limb and say they're going to be worse than the Commanders. Yep. I know that's not much of a limb, but I'm going to go on it. I'm going to say they're going to be worse.
One of the best things... from Vikings Twitter or, Vikings fans was just apologizing to Giants fans. 2 years ago, we beat the Giants in the regular season, and then we lost to them in the playoffs. And it's probably that playoff win that caused the Giants to re-sign Daniel Jones. And so heartfelt apologies to Giants Nation out there. I don't know any Giants fans, but...
I know they're there, though.
Yeah.
They're loud, obnoxious.
Big.
Yeah, giant. Jesus. I think the Giants are going to be worse than the Vikings. I would set if I was an odds maker, I would set the Giants over under 5.5.
Yeah. That'd be interesting too to go back and look at that because you think probably that 6.5 probably should be the line, but those bets are probably inching it up to like a 7. That might be a sharp bet right there.
That might be. So I mean, it goes back to, are we experts? Yeah, we are, and this is why you're listening to a comedy podcast talking about NFL previews. So,
and we're not afraid to kind of broadcast that. I mean, we got this very humble studio. I mean,
humble studio.
One thing,
Yep.
And just
really humble beginnings. Honestly.
a quick aside to Johnny. Normally I'm a big fan, known him for years.
Yep.
Johnny has no respect for wood.
No.
My beer is sweating over here. He did not offer me a coaster. I've got my bottle sitting on just unadorned wood here.
This is actually my apologies. You don't know this because the producer is actually behind the door there. And they're watching the footage and listening to the footage from behind.
Oh, they're watching the
the wall. Yeah, Johnny was fired. Johnny was fired. We have a new producer for season 2. It is JoJo Damsey.
I don't know who that is.
He's new. So, my bad. I didn't explain to JoJo that he should have offered us coasters on the fine wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to tell you this, but JoJo's got to go.
JoJo's got to go. I might hire Johnny back. He actually still unemployed, but...
I thought I saw him when I walked in.
No. I mean, he lingers. And you could smell him, but he's no longer working for
He didn't turn in his key, did he?
No, he did not. No.
Well, a lot of this makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. See, I didn't tell you anything. I didn't tell you this was season 2. I didn't tell you Johnny was fired.
Dallas.
Yeah, the Cowboys.
This is like, we talked about stars and scrubs. Like, this is the ultimate team building exercise.
Yes, it is.
They got
Jones, proud of this
they
team?
got like 5 good players, and then they got a lot of meh.
They have 5 really good players.
Yeah.
Like enough to carry them probably to the playoffs or at least on the brink of.
Yeah.
And they're going to think they're on the Super Bowl wave for most of that.
And then they're going to remember that Mike McCarthy's their coach.
Yes.
As a Vikings fan, one of the things I'm most thankful for is Mike McCarthy being coach of the Packers. Because otherwise I feel like that one Aaron Rodgers Super Bowl probably would have been like 2 or 3.
Yep.
If not for him. So bless you, Mike.
I think Rodgers says the same thing.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
Hear me out on this. I just want to be on the record saying it, but I've been telling people privately, but I want to be on the record on this, that if the Cowboys end up being so bad, because I think there's potential for that they end up with the number 1 pick, they are going to...
Yeah, 100%. I know exactly where you're going with this.
They're going to pick Sanders, quarterback, out of Colorado. They're going to fire Mike McCarthy and hire Deion Sanders as head coach.
Whoa!
Yes.
All right.
I'm calling it right now.
Wow.
That's exactly what's going to happen if the Cowboys are so bad they get in that position.
Yep.
Yep.
No, and I was on the Shador thinking that was their thing. I mean, why else would you... They can't franchise tag Dak. Mm-hmm. His last deal that he signed basically exempted him from that.
Yep.
So they've got no leverage to sign this deal before that, unless they're going to go market plus.
Yeah. And really, it's up to Dak to prove that he's worth that.
Yeah. But I could see Jerry just being like, hey, I'm 105 years old.
Yeah.
Like, that's not real numbers to the view.
No, that's a real number, 105.
But I could see him just saying, like, the next 10 first-round picks are yours. Like,
yeah.
Like he's a guy that, like, is in a dynasty league and just, like, pushes in all of his chips.
All in on this year,
Like,
yeah.
just this one, like, I don't care because I'm quitting the league. Like,
Yep. I love that, actually.
But yes, the hiring Deion, that'd be bold.
It is bold. But so is Jerry Jones.
That does tie in to, one thing I wanted to bring up when we were talking about Dallas. Mike Zimmer. You shared, a text this last week where, Zimmer was asked, like, oh, did you do anything talk to the team? And he was just like, no, they got me fired. And, I love, too, that, like, people are like, oh, well, Dallas brought in Zimmer to fix their defense. And it's just like, okay. So it's like I went back and looked. The last 2 Vikings teams that Zimmer coached were 25th and 27th in defense. And he still had basically all of his guys like at that. That was still with Anthony Barr and Hunter and Harrison Smith and, all of his guys. In between that, he was the defense coordinator for Colorado last year.
Was he really? That's awesome. Were they good?
No!
So is he all hype?
So that's where I'm just like, this is the fix? Like, granted, Zimmer's probably the best he is the best Vikings coach of my adult life. Like, he's the best one. I love him for the first 5 years that he had with the team.
Mike Tice.
Yeah, well, Tice.
Tice is like a value pick at the jukebox.
Yeah.
It's not going to cost you much, but you're going to get a lot out of it.
That was when
you're going to play a Meatloaf song because it's going to go on for 9 minutes.
That was when Red McCombs, the former Vikings owner, was trying to do Major League because he was trying to get the Vikings moved from Minneapolis to San Antonio.
Oh, yeah.
And the NFL basically shut him down, and that was when he decided to sell. But that was part of his reason for having Tice, because Tice was the lowest paid coach in the NFL.
Oh, I thought they declined the move because Mike Tice was the head coach.
And I was a Mike Tice truther back in the day, because I always brought up,
Yeah, you were.
Tice was with the team.
You used to walk around with that pencil behind your ear.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, lightly chewed.
Yeah, lightly chewed.
But he was coach for 4 years, and it was on average, they had 40-some million of salary cap, each year. They were at the bare minimum that they had to spend, but they never spent to the limit. So it's they never give Tice a chance.
I remember you used to also, always want to moss people, but not in football. You just, in the lunch line in high school, you just hop up behind them and be like, "Oh, bossed!" You just take their sandwich. I'm that's bullshit.
I didn't think that's where you were going to go with it. The over-the-top grab. I thought you were going to be like Moss when he was leaving the Vikings the second time, and he was like, I'm in the lunch line. I wouldn't feed this to my dog.
He meant that too. Poor guy. We were there when Moss returned, though.
Yes.
Minnesota.
Yeah,
that was cool.
I have the jersey from that season to prove it.
And that is why you listen to this podcast for NFL preview. So we had the Cowboys. We kind of they're obviously a team that people are gonna look at to win that division. But the Eagles. What about the Eagles?
Has there ever been a team that you could say Super Bowl, but also if they don't make the playoffs, the coach gets fired?
This is it right here.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd never seen a reversal because, Sirianno, their coach, had full control. He had, the coordinators, he picked them, he was running the offense. This year, the GM basically said, you're no longer running the offense. We're bringing in Kellen Moore.
Yep.
And we've also replaced, Vic Fangio is going to be their D coordinator. So it's just you're almost putting a coach in timeout.
Yep.
This guy won,
That's writing on the wall right there.
yeah. But again, it's one of those things, well, if they're successful, all right, you keep your job. But otherwise, 100% you're gone.
This is again, way too late fantasy advice, but Jalen Hurts was a guy that was there for teams during playoff time last year. Even when the Eagles were doing really, really bad, he was doing really, really good and scoring points. So he's a guy you can count on in the fantasy playoffs. But it's way too late. You've already drafted your teams. I'm
glad that you could point out, a top 5 QB ranked quarterback for fantasy is, hey, go grab this guy.
That's kind of my go-to. That's why people listen to this podcast. But yeah, the Eagles,
can we get everyone in our league to listen to this podcast?
I think so.
Is it possible that, this could be their source of information before next year's draft?
I think we get everybody but Russ. I think Russ still doesn't even know what podcasts are.
Oh, no, not a chance.
So.
Dude is a Marine.
And a cop. And in the Navy?
I just want to say,
He's got 4 jobs.
I take back the Marine comment.
Thank you.
It occurred to me as I was saying it, and Odem that I respect it very much,
My dad listens to this podcast.
I know.
So there's one that does listen. So yeah.
And I could see him challenging me to a push-up contest, which I 100% would not win.
Right. And if he doesn't do the push-up contest, Kyle will, and he will beat you.
Yes.
Because that's what he does.
Yeah. So, apologies. Love the Marines.
Good, but the cops, they gotta go.
all this could have been negated if Russ just would have kept the Jeep. Russ getting rid of the Jeep.
This is true.
That was where my estimation of him plummeted.
So who are we missing in the East?
We have them all.
Did we hit them all?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the AFC.
All right.
We've got the North, which has 4 teams.
Good. Very good. Very good.
I'm drawing a blank. The Texans, who don't play.
No,
they're the South.
That's the South.
Let's do the South. I've got that in my head.
Right.
The Texans.
Well, this is a lot like the NFC South.
Yeah, it is actually a lot like it. But But actually, I think there's more talent. I think there's more potential upside with this one because I think like the Colts, they could be pretty good. We just don't know what Richardson's capable of.
Yeah.
And they have some things going on there. I actually thought they did pretty good without him. And they had Joe Flacco backing up Richardson, which is going to be useful down the line. The Texans are going to take a step back, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's because of their schedule and also because there's just that sophomore slump on a lot of guys. Like, this is a really young core. They're going to see challenges that they haven't seen before.
Yep.
And I think within their own division, they've got some things that are like the Jaguars. The Jaguars are tough.
That's the thing is, like, Jaguars don't have that epic collapse.
Right.
The Jaguars were like, 8-3 or something like that. And collapsed from there. Like, they don't do that, then we don't get the Texans making the playoffs. We don't get that great game that they played in the playoffs.
Yep.
And this team's probably, a dark horse this year, as opposed to everybody kind of anointing them the favorite.
The favorite, yeah.
Now, I love their coach. Was it DeMarco Ryans?
Yeah.
Came over from San Francisco, ran some great defenses there, had these guys playing really well. But yeah, I think people are probably writing off the Jaguars a little bit too early. And really, you could make the argument for the Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Anthony Richardson, that they're all basically in the same spot of just, hey, whichever one of these three guys puts it together the most,
they win.
Their team's going to win the division.
Yeah. Who's the fourth team?
Titans.
They're trash. They will not be good this year.
So, yeah.
They're going to be the bottom feeder. But I think they have they have potential down the line. They just, they're the bottom feeder in that
They have some interesting stuff, but it's kind of like, I think they almost fit in that box of like jack of all trades, master of none. Like, they've got...
This is what they got. Nashville's fun.
yes.
So that's what they've got going for them.
Yep.
But who do you think wins this division? Which really comes down to which quarterback do you think pulls it all together the most?
I think the Texans do take a step back. I think the Jaguars win this division.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think the Colts were fun when Richardson was playing.
Yep.
But he still looked like a rookie last year.
Right.
And so it's just like you're counting on him taking that next step without a full season of snaps.
Yeah, that's fair. But a full year of scouting and learning and sometimes, being on the sideline. Look, Carson Palmer spent an entire season on the sidelines for the Bengals. Came in and started year 2 and became a legend.
Is that how it happened?
That's exactly how I remember it. Let's talk about the AFC North since we're talking about the Bengals. We've got the Ravens.
Yeah.
You think they're the favorite? They got to be the favorite.
Yeah. I mean, they're probably...
They've got
no matter how you have them stacked, you probably have those guys in your top 3.
Lamar's probably already an MVP favorite. They've got the bank. I mean...
They're and I used this phrase, earlier today, and it was just like it seemed like it fit kind of the milk carton team, though, of you watch them at the beginning of the season, and then like 5 weeks later, you watch them again, and you're like, who are these guys?
Yeah.
Like, they've had such bad injury luck.
Where did they go? Yeah.
Like, everybody gets hurt. And now they're fighting that. They brought in Derrick Henry. So you would hope that that's going to be because Gus Edwards is, over trying to win a Super Bowl.
Yep.
With
LA.
With the Bolts.
Yeah.
But
LAC, baby.
you just, who are those offensive skill players? Like, this is the Lamar show. Like, he's 100% it. And it could be Lamar and Henry if Henry learns how to run out of the shotgun.
It's one of those things where he doesn't want to because everybody thinks he runs. He doesn't run. Like, statistically, he doesn't run that often. If he would, though, just think of what the possibilities are. I don't know.
I have. Fantasy championship for me.
Speaking of milk cartons, you think back in the day when they used to put the missing kids on the milk cartons, and then, like, the kids who were found, do you think those kids were, like, collecting the milk cartons with their faces on it, like, signing autographs for their friends, and just...
that's immediately what as soon as you started saying that, I was just like, oh, yeah, like, we're, like, Crap, I got the Jeremy.
I got it.
Guys, I got the Jeremy.
Yeah. Like, all our friends were like, oh my God, look, it's Brittany. Like, holy cow.
Yeah. I mean, this obviously didn't happen, but like if I pulled a 23-year-old milk carton out,
right.
well, obviously still full of milk.
Full of milk.
And showed it to you now. I mean,
it'd be worth something.
That would be worthy of like a season 2 premiere on YouTube.
Season 2 premiere highlight is what that would be. That would be the teaser for people who listen to this episode. That's all right. So milk cartons, missing kids. That's all old news. Now it's about Amber Alerts. Do you think kids are like taking selfies in front of the Amber Alert when the Amber Alert's about them? And it's like,
not a selfie, but as soon as he said that, I'm like, I'm surprised that we haven't seen like a TikTok.
Of some
kid, like, I've been hiding out from my parents for 12 hours now, just monitoring the phones, gonna get the they'd be doing a live stream.
They would be on live stream.
They'd be doing a live stream.
I'd watch it,
and it'd be the live stream of me hiding from my parents, and they'd just be on there, and then when that phone went off, like that would be when the confetti falls and they're jumping up around the room. Like,
awesome. Those are good pranks. The missing kids aren't fun.
But
that would be good stuff.
This could be a viral moment for the show.
It could be a viral moment for the show. For all the wrong reasons.
If we never leave this room.
That's true.
Wait. Well, I guess there's an age limit for Amber Alerts. I guess they're not going to do it.
They're not doing Amber Alert for us. And they know where we're at. Everybody knows we're in this room right now.
There's soundproofing. I can see soundproofing. They obviously don't know.
I mean, we're building this thing. It's a work in progress. Can we talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers or what?
The QB nightmare.
They have 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Which means they have none.
But they have 2 quarterbacks that are also playing for Arthur Smith. A reoccurring character in our conversation here. A guy that's obsessed with running the ball.
How is the owner of the Falcons running the Steelers?
Yes. You didn't know that he,
You're right. He's obsessed with running the ball, hates throwing downfield, and using the talent around him.
Yep.
And he's got Russell Wilson. What? Russell Wilson's strength is the deep ball.
Yep.
That's his strength.
Yep. Deep ball and not like in the middle, not like any of these like short passes, like down outside the numbers.
Yep.
So it's just like that just seems combustible, and kind of with that mix, we talked about Zimmer earlier and some of these other coaches that kind of like limit their like, hey, I'm a defensive specialty guy, but I also kind of like sit on the offense a little bit. Like Tomlin's definitely one of those guys. Like nobody can argue with his track record. The Super Bowl wins, like that kind of stuff that he got with the Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown years.
Right.
But really, since then, they've been famous for just not having a losing season and just being like 9-8 or 8-8 or
exactly.
I
was just gonna say, they're gonna finish with no less than 8 or 9 wins. Like they will hit that.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
But how much of that is just Tomlin kind of leaning on it, like let's not play risks, let's not do any risks. Like all the wide receivers that have gone through that system and looked like they were going to have success, Juju, Deontay
Johnson.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson. Trying to think, not Plexico Burress, he was way earlier.
He was good.
But they've always had those wide receivers. Now George Pickens is like the latest one, but he's already had some of those diva tendencies.
Yep. And
as somebody who lived in Georgia, those diva tendencies were very apparent when he was in Georgia.
That just wasn't the culture of Georgia.
Yes,
a lot of divas.
Yeah, I can say that because I don't live there now, and none of them could find Nebraska on the map.
How many peaches did you eat while living in Georgia?
Fun fact about peaches, no. So it's just, I think Tomlin and Arthur Smith together, that's
just bad.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like a positive.
So we got the Ravens, we got the Steelers. I don't want to talk about the Bengals yet.
No.
Who am I missing? Browns.
No.
Browns are going to be good.
Really? Really?
Well, they're going to be as good as a massage.
Enthusiast.
Yeah, as a massage enthusiast pre-2022. I think the Browns have all the potential to be good.
Yeah.
They have the talent to be good.
They would need Watson to be
good. Mediocre.
They need him to play up to the level of like 48-year-old Flacco.
You know what they need to put?
How did Flacco come in last year and all of a sudden it was just like, this team's got an offense now?
Because all they need is somebody who can make decisions and manage an offense, right? Because their talent's there. Watson is being paid to be an elite star, but he's not an elite star. Even in Houston, he wasn't an elite star. He had potential to be an elite star. Then he got into some massage trouble. But he's not worth that contract they gave him, and all they really need is a guy that can manage an offense because the talent's there.
Fully guaranteed contract too.
Fully guaranteed. So they're stuck.
There's no getting out from underneath it.
No, and Cleveland certainly isn't in a position to just be dumping a guy with a fully guaranteed contract like that.
Yep.
But yeah, that's I hate saying the Browns. I think they have the potential to be good. They probably won't win the division. I hate to say that because my guy MGK, is from Cleveland. He's from the land and until he dies. And
machine gun enthusiast.
Yeah, and I just for him would like to see some Brown success, but that's just probably not going to happen.
No.
Which leads us to the Bengals.
Oh, I thought you were going to make a tickets to your downfall joke. I guess I can't make him happy. I just have to get tickets to his downfall.
Yep. So this is a
where's
comedy
my
podcast.
drum kit?
This is a comedy podcast.
JoJo.
That's the thing.
JoJo.
JoJo Damsey. He's got a different skill set, man. Different skill set. He's got some video background. That's why Johnny got fired. And whatever. Johnny's just never willing to learn. That's his problem. Very stubborn guy.
Yeah.
But anyway.
This is going to be your most re-listened to segment of the show.
The Bengals.
Because it's just going to be Kyle. Kyle's going to re-listen to this
segment right here
50 times.
And here's the thing. We've already talked about how the Ravens are probably the favorites to win the division.
Yep.
This is the Bengals with a lot of talent on this is the only year that matters ever again type of year because this team isn't going to be together like this after this year. And they know that. And they're very upfront about it that this is it.
Yep.
That's kind of cool because they have swag and they've got guys with like the ego and the talent to be able to do something about that.
Yep.
I think they win the division.
Oh, and I think they're probably your best bet of, I think I saw it like they were plus 190 for like winning the division. And it was just like, those are pretty good. Like that's
to
probably
get plus money, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably like the best bet as far as picking like a fourth place team to win the division.
To win it, yeah. The schedule's ahead of them, the talent's there.
Because we talked about those competitive or those rebuilds that you do, and that's Bengals are probably going to be in that bucket here in the next year where they need to do what the Chiefs did 3 years ago. They need to do what the Bills are doing like right now.
But they're also going to still be talented enough to compete.
Yep.
But this is a Super Bowl team that has to like put it all together this year because it's not going to be there next year.
Yep. They finally got rid of P. Ryan. I mean, that was 2 years ago, but Burrow's wrist derailed what would have certainly been a successful season.
100%. And that's the thing. Jamar Chase is holding out still. We don't even know if he's going to play Week 1. I would imagine.
You didn't see the new Schefter tweet?
Oh, what did Schefter say? Is he reporting on him now?
Yeah. So I think he said something like Jamar Chase like. There's Amish in Pennsylvania, but there's also Amish that live in Ohio.
Okay.
And so I think Jamar Chase is going to become Amish, so he no longer cares about material things. So the Bengals don't even have to pay him now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So, look for that Schefter tweet. I think that should be hitting here any minute now.
If you're not, you're ahead of it. If you're not following Adam Schefter, NFL reporter for
Bengals
reporter for ESPN, he's the beat reporter. You're just missing the boat. I don't know if you saw this, but I had one of the most asinine tweets this guy's ever seen. And this was a Bengals fan, not just a fan. He has a podcast about the Bengals.
Yeah.
And he said, this is the most asinine tweet I've ever seen. And it was me commenting about Adam Schefter. It's just saying, Jamar Chase, because he went to practice, I think our eyes are doing the reporting. What do we need Schefter to write about? Like, this is it. Like, we see that Jamar Chase is at practice because people were mad that he wasn't writing about Chase showing up to practice. I just want to say that wasn't very asinine of me.
No. Well, I mean...
I want it to be on record.
Yeah. I mean, you take a lot of pride in what you do.
I do.
You look at yourself in the mirror.
Twice a day.
You want to see Schefter standing at your shoulder.
Yeah.
You don't want to see some random podcaster from Cincinnati.
No, in fact...
Like, what? Like...
I want to make a bold statement right now, Eric. I don't respect anybody from the state of Cincinnati You want to know why? Because it's not a state. But I do respect a lot of people in Ohio. But the city of Cincinnati, I've got beef with. Big time.
You've talked about your entire life. Ever since you immigrated to the States.
Yep. Wait. Ever since I came from San Diego. We're getting too off track.
All right, yep.
The Bengals, we both agree, are going to win this division.
Yes.
So that's exciting. Let's talk about... Did we already talk about the South? We did. Let's talk about the North finally. But you're going to... Wait, we did. Let's talk about
Put the beer down, Joe.
No, I will never. This is Laugh With Me. This is what we do. Okay, AFC...
East.
Who we got?
Ugh.
All right. Buffalo's going to be good. Ish, right? But not like the level they have.
Yeah, we'll find out if investing in pass catchers is a good thing or a bad thing.
Bad. Yeah, they're the test for this. Yeah.
Like
trading Stephon Diggs.
They're talking about Dalton Kincaid, one of their tight ends, being their leading receiver, and
I like him.
Well, I don't know that you pick a second-year guy that's never had more than 700 yards
That's my
to
main
be
guy.
like, expect him to get 1,200. Like, okay, but so they'll be kind of that test case. I mean, the defense should still be good. I mean, Josh Allen should still be good.
He's the number 1 rated fantasy quarterback in drafts this year, which is silly, right?
That's one of the things I did not understand. Yeah,
that's a dig on Stephon, right? To say that we're going to eliminate him, and then your quarterback's going to be better.
And that's the argument that they made for it. And I think about it, it's very similar to what
I'm not getting credit for the dig on Stephon line there. Right over your head.
Right over my head. Right over my head. I'm focused on the football, Jeremy.
That's what we do here.
You got to keep your eye on the ball. But very similar to Tyreek last year of the Chiefs, when he was with the Chiefs. Because they were like, we don't need Tyreek because defenses are just playing him deep and we can't throw the deep ball.
And then they won the Super Bowl the next year.
Yeah. And so they got rid of Tyreek. And that was, their argument, I think, for getting rid of Diggs, too, was, Diggs was not the leading receiver that second half of the season. But where they took it to an extreme was they got rid of Diggs, they got rid of Gabe Davis. They're Coleman. I mean, love his videos, but they're expecting him to be lifting that weight as a wide receiver. Otherwise, I think there's only one wide receiver on the team that's caught passes from Josh Allen.
I'm surprised you like his wholesome videos. You're usually more of a hardcore porn guy.
Well, I'm in Nebraska now. You can't watch that. It's not legal.
Well, you can if you put your ID in.
Oh, no.
You get a VPN from another state.
Tell me more. Tell me more. But no, it's... what about the VPN?
We were talking about the Bills. I think we're done with the Bills. The Dolphins, which are another team that's probably one of the favorites to win this division.
Yo, that's
I like Tua this year. I've never liked him before. I like Tua this year.
The Dolphins are. We both watched Arrested Development back in the day, and one of the running jokes in there was George Michael, the youngest son, would introduce his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And it'd just be like, "Oh, this is my girlfriend Ann," and the response was always her. And just and at one point he gives the explanation. Well, she's really funny, and then the joke is, well, I really hope so. That's to me is the Dolphins.
That's the Dolphins.
Them because they are sexy. They've got the 2 wide receivers. They've got Achane and this running game that's just off the chain. The problem always becomes they have to play games in October and later.
I thought you were going to end it with they have to play games.
That is they have to play games beyond the first month of the season.
31 teams in the NFL.
They do have to play games against teams that have made the playoffs. So they're not being able to just go off and tee off on them, and their quarterback's Tua, and we know that ever since he got drafted, one of his weaknesses is he doesn't have that long arm. He doesn't have that Josh Allen cannon, Mahomes. Cannon to throw it, and he hasn't shown that consistent ability to get past the scheme.
Right.
But they're so sexy.
They are. They're fun, and their head coach is fun, and it's you'd love to see them be a team that you're watching in prime time and games that matter. I don't know. I'm hoping that they have a successful season, but for all the reasons you just gave, I don't know that they will be, but it'd be cool. The Patriots for sure will not. That's a team obviously on a rebuild that thinks they're going to compete. I don't know. I guess we have a lot still to determine, but I don't think they're going to be.
The most telling thing about the Patriots was that Mayo said in an interview a week or two back that May had outperformed, that he was performing the best out of their quarterbacks. Jacoby Brissett's going to be starting game 1. Oof. That's what you need to know about their season, is because they have a tough schedule out there. And so we might not see May play until November. Mm-hmm. And
Brissett's just going to get him.
If they thought that they were going to compete, then that would not be the case.
It would be the case, yeah. Who am I missing in that division?
AFC East.
Dolphins.
Bills. Oh, man.
Who's the other one? We're missing one team.
I just don't know how. I mean,
they're not going to be good.
I watched this Pat McAfee guy.
The Jets.
And they have this quarterback on all the time.
Rodgers.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to be good. But I think they're going to compete. Like I say, all right, they're not going to be good, but they're going to compete. So I mean, when I say that, they're going to be in the hunt for the wild card, and they're going to be a team that's in the playoff hunt towards the end, whether they get there or not. They're going to be in the mix. So that means they're 500 or better. But I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders. And it all hinges on whether Rodgers plays well or not. Like you talk about teams that does the quarterback have to be great for them to be great? I think this is one of them.
Yep, 100%. Because, if Rodgers doesn't pan out, they're the Jets from last year. The Jets from last year nobody was scared of them.
Right, yeah. So,
the defense is going to be tough, but you knew if you could put, 14 points up, you're probably walking away with a W.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So that's the north, south,
east.
So we have one division left to go.
We only got 2 minutes left here.
And we have 2 minutes to talk about the AFC West. I could talk about the AFC West for a half hour. I don't want to.
I mean, it sounds like it could be a Friday happy hour.
But we might want to come back to the AFC West on the Friday happy hour. Yeah. I have a fantasy football draft to do.
As you've spent your entire time. So that's why you've been so caught up on the fantasy thing.
Yeah, I've got fantasy on the brain.
You've been like, it's too late for your draft.
Yeah.
Not for me.
But not for me. Because I'm about to draft, and it's a league full of children and this is like a family league. So it's like one of those leagues that's, it's fun, but it's, you want to win it because
you can't bump them?
Can you imagine if I showed up to Christmas like the bottom feeder of the league? Not me. I could not possibly think about doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, I've seen you draft, so.
See, that's. We're going to talk about the AFC West on the Friday happy hour. But this was season 2, episode 1, 50th episode of Laugh With Me. Eric, thanks for breaking down the NFL.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. One in the bank.
One in the bank, baby.